Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road, and in this video, I'm going to talk with you while I craft and chat, and I'm going to talk about whether or not you should join a design team. Now, maybe you're considering joining a crafty design team. It can be very fulfilling, and if you've never been a part of a design team before, you might be wondering about what exactly to expect. Well, each company is unique, but I can offer you a few things to consider before applying to a crafty design team. Now, before I start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap on the bell icon so you receive notifications when I upload new videos. And just to let you know, this is not something I typically do, but I thought instead of you just watching my hands do nothing on the desk, you can watch while I make this neat birthday card using things that had been sent to me when I was on design teams. And so I'm not on any design teams at the moment, not for any other reason. It's just that I didn't have the time, and I just chose not to be a part of any right now. But let's look at a few things to consider before applying to a creative design team. First, you're going to definitely need to know how to use a computer or a laptop well, not just a phone or a tablet. Also, you're going to need to be pretty comfortable taking quality, well-lit photos and sometimes videos. You're going to need to know how to edit photos in a photo editor and in a video editor, and create and edit blog posts, including adding links to photos and text. That's pretty standard. Along with maintaining and engaging with social media posts. The time to learn these things is not after you join a design team. You need to know how to comfortably use these things before you even begin to apply. Now, in addition to that, there might be a language barrier depending on what kind of company you're working for. I had the privilege of being a part of the Craft O'Clock design team for over 2 years. And there was a bit of a language barrier at first. I don't freak out about stuff like that as long as I can use Google Translate, and as long as everybody, if the situation is okay, you can tell in the application process if that's going to be a problem. So that's definitely something to consider if you're working with an international design team, or if you want to work with an international design team. The other thing to consider is the actual physical space in your craft area at your house or wherever you live. You're going to need to be prepared for the products that are going to be sent to you. That is a standard part of being a part of a creative team or a design team. So you're definitely going to have some room for multiple shipments of multiple things that you may or may not use. Make sure you've got ample room. And if you're working on your dining room table, then definitely that's something to consider before you apply for a team. Also, it's worth examining the creative expectations of the team. For example, just spending time looking closely at the requirements for being on the design team. If you are mainly a card maker, for example, and they, want you at least once a month or something to make a scrapbook layout or an exploding box, if you've never done that and that kind of is intimidating, you may want to consider. You can't just always say, oh, I only want to make cards, or oh, I only want to do this. It's just like when you go into a job, if you're applying at a grocery store, you can't just decide, oh, I'm never going to stock a shelf ever, because they might just need you at some time to do that. So that's creative expectations of the team. Definitely something to consider. Now, you're also going to want to consider the time and the effort expectations of the team. This is a real thing that will really take up your time, and it's different kind of mental and creative time than doing your own projects. So think about it. If you would go to your church or your kid's school or something, and the people were asking for someone to be on a committee of some sort, you would think to yourself, well, do I actually have the time to come to meetings, be involved, sell, bake cookies, whatever the case may be? You would think of that ahead of time, and you have to think of that equally as being part of a design team as well. It's a different kind of creative energy when you have to make a certain something than when you just sit down and decide to make a certain something. And if you don't have that kind of time for the next 6 months, or don't want to make that kind of time, that's something to consider. And be realistic with yourself. You know, if you have somebody in your family that you take care of regularly, or several other commitments you're already devoted to, be realistic with yourself and decide whether or not you have that extra time to commit. So the time and the effort expectations are definitely important to consider. Now, one thing I did, it was actually my lifelong dream to, I know it might sound silly, but it seriously was my lifelong dream to, ever since I started scrapbooking, so I guess not lifelong, but ever since I started scrapbooking, I wanted to be on a design team. I used to remember like what were those first scrapbooking magazines that first came out, remember? And I used to look at their pages and the people they featured, in the magazines, and I thought, why can't I be that person? Like, why can't I design or make stuff for a company? And but before I went ahead and just started applying everywhere, I actually tested myself to see if I could do it. I didn't want to get in over my head, so I tested myself, and so that's my big recommendation in this video. In this video, my recommendation is to pretend that you are a part of that team for at least 2 months. Just pretend. Go into the application of, let's say you want to be on whatever company you like working with, whatever paper you like, whatever stamps you like, whatever it is that you like, go into there. If you see like that they are posting for creative teams, and you can follow the hashtag DT call or hashtag design team call, and then you'll get notifications like that. But you can go into the applications and see what are they looking for, what requirements would it be, was it a 6-month term, how many projects per month, whatever. And then just on your own time, literally on your own time for like 2 months, pretend you're part of that design team. Don't say anything on social media. Don't be like, I'm testing myself. Don't do any of that. Just keep it completely your personal secret, and just do the requirements that company says they're looking for, but do it just for you. Make the projects, however many they say to make per month, you make them that per month. However much they say to post, you do it. You post it within just for your own stuff, maybe your own Facebook page, or make your own blog post or your own video. Nobody has to know any of this stuff that you're doing. Just do it for you and see if you can keep up with the commitment, if you can keep up with the time schedule, if you like doing it. And then if it doesn't work out, you don't owe anybody anything. Nobody is disappointed. Nobody failed. It was just a trial. So that's my number one recommendation. Do it within the time frame that company expects. And you can even test yourself further by choosing like a select few items from your stash and creating your test projects with like only those items. So let's say, maybe you want to do stamping or something. Maybe you choose then 5 stamps, 1 company brand of ink, 2 packs of pattern paper, and say 12 or so sheets of cardstock or whatever. Then like just do that, like pretend that was the stuff that got shipped to you, and then only use that stuff, and then a few other things. Also, you could pull out old scrapbooking or card making kits that are lying around that you like bought and never used, and create with like just those supplies. And And don't use like the little sample things that come in the kit. Make your own, but with just those supplies. It helps you focus on using just a limited amount of supplies, of featuring certain products, and practice linking to those products. It's not going to matter if you look that up on a website and link to it. It's not going to hurt you or them. It's not going to hurt anybody. The worst thing that's going to happen is the link won't work, and it'll give you some practice. So that is definitely what I recommend. You also want to check out all the products that company endorses, including like secondary products like stamping ink or adhesive. Because if you work, let's say, primarily with like Distress Oxide inks, for example, and they use VersaFine only, or Gina K, or just some other brand, that could get to be tricky, because you know, then you have to think, am I going to have to buy all new inks just to be able to do what I already do? But maybe they don't want you to use another brand in your videos or posts or whatever, but you can't help it because that's all you have. So just be mindful of the other secondary products. Adhesive is a huge one. If you primarily use a liquid adhesive and they want you to use a double-sided tape, for example, or whatever, just be mindful that all those things come into play when you're working with a design team. Now, there are some tricky issues that come along with being on a creative team or a design team. For example, you're going to be asked to create with lots of things you just get sent to you. So many times you'll be asked to create with a product that you may not necessarily, I don't want to say you don't like it, but realistically, maybe you just don't like it. Maybe it's just not your style. A good way to test yourself with that is pull something from your stash that you just can't think of any ideas for whatsoever, and make yourself make something good with it. Another tricky issue is it's very realistic that you'll be requested to suddenly create like extra projects in an extremely short amount of time. Like all of a sudden you might be asked, oh, there's a blog hop, or oh, there's a special, certain Saturday scrap day or something, and we're all doing a project for it, and on top of your regularly scheduled things. So that can be a little tricky. You might have all your projects planned out, and then all of a sudden you have to create an extra one like right now, and post it, and take pictures of it, and share it, and make a blog post for it, and link to it. And if you realistically don't have the kind of time to like put everything else on hold for 2 days while you make, film, blog, post, photo, all this stuff, then that's definitely something to consider. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you can't just say, oh, I can't. You have to, that's part of your responsibility as a team member. So just be mindful that 6 months or however long you're on the team, you're making a commitment to be available to that team. So you want to consider, does your home and family life allow you to just suddenly put everything aside and just spend that time if you need to? And if you can't do that right now, then maybe wait 6 months or wait a year or something before you try. Also, another tricky issue is social media engagement. Maybe you don't mind if your personal feed is full of shared posts from every team member, but maybe you kind of don't want that. Maybe you do other things on your social media and post your own projects just every once in a while. Or maybe you have a lot of stuff on your personal social media accounts, pictures of family and things like that, and you really don't want the whole world to have public access to like all your private pictures and stuff. That's something to consider, because your personal accounts are all of a sudden going to get a lot of new traffic, which is awesomeness. But if you don't want that, you have to understand that's going to come with the territory. People are going to go to your page, look at your profile, look at all your other previous projects and posts and things like that. So just be mindful. And you might want to set up like some kind of a second account just for crafty stuff if you don't want your personal stuff shared. Of course, this is moving into more awesomeness about being on a design team, and less of the tricky issues, because while those are a reality, there's so much awesomeness. The free product is absolutely fantastic. I mean, the fact that you get giant boxes full of stuff that's sometimes even not yet released, and you have multiples, plentiful. There's so much. That is just awesomeness. Also, some design teams really offer monetary payment. It might be like so much per video, maybe a dollar amount. Some creative teams offer like store credit, which is nice too, because then that would be just stuff you could save and buy whenever you wanted, or use that credit whenever you wanted, not just within the design team framework. So that's really nice. And I've been on a few different teams with a variety of different compensation plans, some of which the multiple and very generous boxes of product is plenty of payment and far outweighs the time and effort you would take to create. Other times, there's a financial compensation, which is great too. And sometimes there's store credit, which is great too. It's all fine. So you just have to decide what you like. Now, this is another awesomeness perk. Some people say that you gain valuable friendships when you're part of a team. And I used to, before I was on a design team, I thought, I bet that's something people just say. But I am here to say to you that that is 100% true. And it's the craziest thing, because most of the time, especially now, everything's virtual. So it's not like back in the day where it was more common that you'd get together for in-person crops or workshops. Now, especially if it's international, then it's virtual. But I am here to say that when you spend some time with creative people and sharing posts and commenting on posts and doing this and doing that, you really do gain some valuable friendships. You learn a lot about people. You learn a lot about supporting people. They're very supportive to you. And even after your time on a design team or a creative team, you'll find that you're still in touch with some of those people months, years after your team time commitment is over. It's really nice. I really have never experienced anything like that. So, and to me, that's almost as valuable, if not more valuable, than the giant boxes of free product. And I know there's lots of videos out there that have different opinions on creative teams. I think that's part of what prompted me to make this video. Is I kept seeing, for some reason, a lot of negative videos and a lot of negative coverage. And I know that everybody's experience is their own experience. And so I'm not saying that it shouldn't be negative if that person had, that kind of experience with it. But I was just kind of surprised, because the one thing I noticed was in a lot of these videos and a lot of these opinions of people who seem to have negative experiences, the one thing I noticed is it seemed like they were a bit overcommitted, being on more than one, more than two, more than three. Sometimes I've heard of people being on like 6 design teams. I can't even possibly imagine how I would have time to breathe if I was trying to be that committed to 6 different companies. If each company wanted you to do, just think of this, if each company wanted you to do 1 full video and 1 full blog post per month, that is a lot to do. That is a lot to do. So, I mean, for me personally, the most that I was ever on at one time was 2. And then I had an involvement with another company that was really non-committed. It was, whenever I could or whenever I had time. It was completely like on the honor system and up in the air. And so I would, oftentimes I would use those products in some of my other design team projects and sort of double dip, if you will, But yeah, I can't imagine being so overcommitted that it was a negative experience. So, but I mean, I guess some people just want to try it, or maybe they like to be that busy. That's not a thing for me. So just definitely something to consider. If this is your first attempt, or you're considering being on a design team for the very first time, my recommendation is don't jump into 2 at once or 3 at once. Jump in whole hog to 1 and spend all your time, go through that whole commitment with just 1. See if you like it, and then go from there and see what works for you. It's not going to hurt anything to just do 1 at a time. So I would also strongly recommend to not get so sort of googly-eyed about the idea of free product. There's always going to be product at the store. There's always going to be new product to be had. So if it's not going to be this time, and maybe it's next time, but just don't let that be the complete driving force. It's got to be from the creative standpoint, or the creative process. And fortunately and unfortunately, you have to love all parts of it. You have to love, editing the videos and taking the pictures just as much as you love making the stuff. So lots of good things to consider here. And this is the card that I've made today. I hope you have enjoyed watching me craft along. This is sort of my first little crafty chat here. I think I'm going to go ahead and make an envelope to go along with this. So I also am hoping to do more crafty chats in the future. So like I said, definitely hit that subscribe button. Let me tell you a little bit about the products that I'm using today and the companies that they represent. The paper is from Craft O'Clock, and that is manufactured in Poland. I have had such a good time being on their creative team. Like I said, it was, I think, about a 2-year run or so. Such wonderful people. There were a few people who spoke some limited English, which really made my life much easier. But I learned a lot, and they're great people. You could shop for this paper in the links below if you're interested. And the stamp set that I used today was from Technique Junkies. A wonderful, wonderful group of people. Really, really unique stamps made in the USA. And there are links below to that stamp if you are interested as well. And let's see. I don't know that I used anything else. I was on other teams, but I don't know that I used any of those products in this video. Maybe my next crafty chat, I'll use some of those as well. This is a 6x6 card. I made it as a birthday card for a friend of mine from my church, and we've been friends for a while. And I love the little cupcake and the little shaker element. And I often make my own envelopes because I want to make cards however size I want to make it. I don't always like to use the A2 because I don't have to. I can use whatever. I'm in charge of my creations, and you are too. You can make whatever size card you want, whatever you want, whenever you want. So this is my finished card. So thanks so much for watching. And I'm going to put a few close-ups of the finished product here. You can definitely head over to the blog too if you want to touch base on all the points that I made today in the video. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll leave you some recommendations of some other videos here, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.